Good evening, class. My name is Alexandra Marzuka, and I will be discussing cholera. Cholera is a waterborne and sometimes foodborne disease caused by the ingestion of the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. Cholera is an acute gastrointestinal disease characterized by profuse watery diarrhea and dehydration. It is easily treated and curable if it is caught on time. The key to understanding cholera began with John Snow, who was the first to pinpoint that the disease was spread through contamination of drinking water. His conclusion came about when he investigated an outbreak in London in 1854. He tracked cholera cases by creating a street map to mark the location of each of the cholera patients. His map showed that the majority of cholera cases centered around the Broad Street water pump. He then discovered that people who contracted cholera used water from the Broad Street pump, which was polluted by sewage. John Snow's approach has been extremely important to the field of epidemiology, as many of his techniques are used to study the patterns and occurrences of diseases among people today. Robert Koch is known for identifying the bacterium Vibrio cholerae that causes the disease cholera. Although Robert Koch was not the first person to isolate the bacterium, he was the first to publicize a report associating the cause of cholera with this specific microbe. There are many different strains of the cholera bacteria. Approximately 150 strains have been identified. However, only 2 strains, serogroup 01 and serogroup 0139, are known to cause the disease. Serogroup 01 is the primary cause of cholera outbreaks. Cholera is typically transmitted by drinking contaminated water. The contamination generally occurs through a fecal-oral route, which results when the feces of a person already infected with the cholera bacteria are allowed into the waterways. More people then contract the disease as they drink the infected water or eat foods prepared with the water. Transmission can also occur by eating contaminated foods, particularly raw or undercooked fish and shellfish. This is because cholera bacteria live inside and on the bodies of tiny sea creatures called copepods. Cholera epidemics are often more prevalent in the spring and fall because there are more copepods living in the ocean. Higher sea temperatures result in more plankton and algae in the oceans. Since copepods feed on plankton and algae, the higher temperatures also result in a higher number of copepods infected with the cholera bacteria. When Vibrio cholerae enters the body, the bacteria travel into the small intestine. Upon reaching the walls of the intestine, the bacteria produce a toxin called cholera toxin, which makes the victim sick within a matter of hours. The toxin interrupts the flow of electrolytes in the body, causing the body to release huge amounts of water and electrolytes as diarrheal fluid. Approximately 75% of people infected with Vibrio cholerae develop no symptoms, but the bacteria can be present in their feces for 7 to 14 days after infection. For those who do experience symptoms, 80% have moderate symptoms and 20% experience more severe symptoms. The primary symptom of cholera is profuse watery diarrhea. As the disease progresses, other symptoms may occur, such as nausea and vomiting, painful abdominal cramps, leg muscle cramps, low blood pressure, low blood sugar, loss of consciousness, and kidney failure. If severe cases are left untreated, it can lead to severe dehydration, which can cause a person to go into shock and can lead to death within just a few hours. The treatment method that a cholera patient will use depends on the degree to which they are dehydrated. There are 4 stages in the treatment of cholera. The primary treatment is rehydration. This can be done by drinking an oral rehydration solution, which consists of water, sugar, and salt. Pre-packaged ORS is manufactured and distributed worldwide. Also, the World Health Organization developed guidelines on how to administer ORS in a safe and effective way. Up to 80% of cholera patients are successfully treated through the use of these oral rehydration solutions. More severe cases may require fluid replacement therapy, which requires that a patient's bodily fluids are replenished intravenously. This is done for at least 4 hours in order to rehydrate the patient. The third stage is to maintain the level of fluids in the patient. Patients should continue to drink oral rehydration solutions until their diarrhea ceases. Antibiotics can also be used in severe cases to help reduce the bacterial infection and lessen the diarrheal effects. The use of antibiotics, however, may be impractical in poor nations since they are expensive and do not assist in curing and reducing the spread of the infectious disease. The final step of treatment requires the patient to resume eating nutritious and healthful foods. Timely access to treatment can be achieved by establishing cholera treatment centers in affected populations during a cholera outbreak. Fewer than 1% of cholera patients die if they get access to proper treatment. Since the 1800s, 7 cholera pandemics have occurred worldwide. The first cholera pandemic was documented to have occurred in India in 1817. Since then, the disease began to travel around the world to places such as Asia, Russia, the Middle East, Europe, North America, and South America. Within the last 10 years, outbreaks have occurred in places like India, Iran, Vietnam, and Africa. The most recent outbreaks have occurred in Haiti and Nigeria. In industrialized countries such as the United States, only a few cases of cholera are reported each year. Cholera cases in the US usually occur as a result of consumption of infected seafood or as a result of international travel. According to the World Health Organization, an estimated 3 to 5 million cases of cholera occur each year. It is also estimated that cholera causes 100,000 to 120,000 deaths annually. The World Health Organization reported that in 2008, there were a total of 190,130 cases reported from 56 different countries and 5,143 deaths associated with cholera. However, many cases go unreported because some countries lack effective surveillance systems, and some believe that reporting cholera may have a negative impact on the country's image, economy, and tourism. This makes calculating exact numbers of cholera cases very difficult. Underdeveloped countries are generally at most risk of contracting cholera because they usually lack adequate purification and sanitation systems. Areas that are also highly affected by cholera include communities with unsanitary living conditions, inadequate sewage disposal systems, a lack of safe fluids and foods, and overcrowding living conditions, such as refugee camps. Other risk factors include poor hygiene, eating raw oysters and shellfish, and lack of proper food preparation and handling. Many environmental factors contribute to the emergence and transmission of cholera. For example, inadequate environmental management. When certain measurements are not used to ensure that water supplies are pure and bacteria-free, this can cause waterways to become polluted. This, in turn, facilitates the risk of contracting diseases like cholera. Pollutions can become extremely vulnerable to contracting cholera when they have experienced war or natural disasters such as hurricanes, tsunamis, floods, or earthquakes. This is because clean water systems and sewage treatment systems can break down after such disasters, causing a lack of efficient waste disposal systems and little access to clean drinking water. Climate changes have also proven to contribute to the spread of microbes, such as the cholera bacteria. For example, warmer temperatures caused by the El Niño weather patterns are often associated with the growth and spread of the cholera bacteria. An example of a natural environmental occurrence that contributed to a cholera outbreak was the massive earthquake that hit Haiti in January 2010. Despite the poverty and lack of infrastructure in the country, Haiti had not experienced a cholera outbreak in over 50 years. However, the earthquake destroyed many of the water treatment facilities and sewage systems, making the country very susceptible to a cholera outbreak. Many people who lost their homes were forced into tent cities. The lack of access to safe water, poor sanitation, and overcrowding were all factors which also increased the vulnerability of the population in contracting the disease. Eventually, one of the country's primary water sources became contaminated with the cholera bacteria, causing over 4,100 deaths. The most important factor in preventing cholera is having efficient clean water and sewage treatment facilities. These facilities should be well maintained in order to prevent waterborne infectious diseases. The reason why developed countries have a low incidence rate of cholera is because these countries have widespread and successful water supply systems and sewage facilities. They follow sanitary protocols, and most have access to toilets and hand washing facilities. Many underdeveloped countries lack these facilities, and for this reason, cholera is often referred to as a disease of the poor. In order to prevent and reduce the incidence of cholera, several preventative measures can be used. Water purification, for example, is very important in preventing cholera and can be done by chlorination, solar water disinfection, or UV light sterilization, ozone water treatment, antimicrobial filtration, or simply by boiling water. Sewage treatment is also a preventative measure and involves using chlorine, ozone, or ultraviolet light to ensure that sewage is disinfected before it is allowed into underground water supplies. Sterilization is also important as it ensures that fecal waste produced by cholera patients are properly disposed and treated. It also ensures that all materials used by cholera patients, such as bedding and clothing, are disinfected either by using hot water or chlorine bleach. Providing hygiene education is also beneficial for people to learn about basic hygiene procedures, such as hand washing, safe food preparation, and sanitation. Oral and injectable cholera vaccines have also been created and are available in certain parts of the world. However, these vaccines only provide short-term protection against the cholera bacteria and are said to be ineffective over time. The World Health Organization works to provide support, training, and education on cholera control and prevention in various countries. In conclusion, a unified effort of all nations is needed to prevent cholera from destroying the lives of many people around the world. Thank you very much for watching my presentation, and I look forward to answering any questions that you might have.